I think when I look at the system, I look at the 327,000 students in the state of Idaho that are K through 12, and we have a constitutional obligation to them. Only 300,000 of them are participating in our public schools and our charter schools right now. So right now we're leaving out 27,000 people from the equation. To participate in this taxpayer-funded system, we don't have any income requirements. So we don't say that you have to have below this income to go to a public school or to go to a charter school. So I look at this as a constitutional obligation to provide for all of those 320,000 students. If they choose to participate, this bill basically says that if they are not in that group right now of the 300,000 and they want to participate in this expansion to our constitutional space, it is entirely an opt-in. They choose whether or not they want to participate. Our goal in looking at other options today is because our mandate in the Constitution is that we have intelligence created out of this system. And some others have talked today about the performance of our educational system and the performance of reading, math, and science. And are we actually achieving the goals of the intelligence for our population, which actually ultimately says is to keep this Republican form of government? On the cost, that's obviously a huge concern of mine, and I definitely have great sympathy with the senator from 14, because that's one of my high priorities too. I care about a balanced budget. When I looked at Arizona and I looked at 10 years of their participation in an education savings account, I saw a 4.9% participation rate after 10 years. And that is a universal ESA at this point, as Senate Bill 1038 is. Anyone can participate. And so I don't think that, given that, I think obviously a lot of people like what they're already doing. And I'm a great example. A homeschooling dad. I've homeschooled my children their entire educational career. And if this program were available to me, just like Empowering Parents has been available to me, just like Stronger Families has been available to me, these two $30 million programs over the last 2 fiscal years, I did not participate in those. And I would not participate in this because I don't see any advantage for my family and how we're doing things. And that's what this is about. It's about freedom to participate or not. Nobody is being co-opted into this additional space that we're entering for these 327,000 students that we have a constitutional obligation for. The way I read page 3, subsections 4 and 5, it requires a very specific appropriation by JFAC. I don't know what that number is going to be. The fiscal note says $45 million. I don't know what it's going to be because it's not only up to JFAC, but it's up to this body and the body across the rotunda. When I think about when we create programs in a constitutionally mandated space, then the question becomes about equal treatment and equal protection. Do we want a program that is preferential and specifically excludes some students, or do we want to include all potential students in the state? I value equal protection and equal treatment. So not having income limits and making it available to everybody is something I value. If we said and started with a limited ESA and we said we only want to create another option for public school students, and so let's say public school students exited the system and they were being paid under our new option, what about the people who have already made the sacrifice and gone to other options? And we're saying, because you made that decision earlier, you are not able to participate. So I like the universal aspect of this bill. You know, and finally, I want to talk to homeschoolers, because I am one. I've got a ton of emails. But I honestly don't think that most of those emails were well informed, and I actually learned the program in Microsoft Outlook to create the quick steps where I could respond to every single one of them, because a lot of them had consistency of their concerns. And one of their major concerns is this a Trojan horse to encroachment upon homeschooling freedom. Homeschooling freedom is one of the reasons I moved to this state in 2004. It was high up on the list. The states that had true homeschool freedom, my wife and I had a map, and we tagged them, and those were our only options. I can guarantee that as long as I'm in this Senate body, I'm not going to personally, within my power and influence, not allow encroachment upon homeschooling freedoms of our parents. But there's nothing in this bill that's before us today, which is the only thing that we're voting on, there's nothing in this that encroaches upon homeschooling freedoms. So for those parents who have that concern, this bill is not a concern about that. And if you think this bill is going to create the opportunity or somehow magically create a future encroachment, well, we opened up, that horse left the barn, that Trojan horse left the barn 2 years ago with Stronger Families. It left the barn last year with Empowering Parents. And even if we don't pass this ESA, there's always the opportunity for legislators to bring legislation that talks about encroachment on homeschool freedom. And we're always going to have to be, those of us who care about that, are going to have to be diligent on having true freedom for homeschoolers. And I vow to do my part in that.